Hey guys, I'm going to be talking about the book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And this book is about how trends, ideas, and social behaviors is able to spread like a virus epidemic, but instead of a virus epidemic, it's really just like social stuff or like social ideas, and those ideas really like reach a high amount of people and audience where they suddenly gain a widespread popularity. And this book also explores like the importance of how small things can make a huge difference. And there's also kind of like different kinds of people, such as salesmen, connectors, and mavens. So connectors, mavens, and salesmen, those people or like individuals can really make things popular. So what do I like about the book? I love this book because it is so interesting and intriguing, and it explains how like there's different kinds of people or individuals that are part of the epidemics, and they have the power to make the trends rise, and those are the people that we really see in our lives and like on our daily basis. And such as like someone could be really popular and we don't really know them, and like as I read this now, or like as I read the book, that really opened new perspectives around the world, or like my point of view, because like it really shifted like how I think of people now, and how they have the knowledge or like they have the power to truly like make rumors like spread like crazy. And those people I'm talking about are three individuals, such as connectors, mavens, and salesmen. So connectors are individuals with extended social networks who link people and ideas. So on page 40 it talks about more about connectors. So on here on page 41 it says, sprinkled among every walk of life, in other words, are a handful of people with a truly extraordinary knack of making friends and acquaintances. They are connectors. So basically, connectors, what it said was like connectors are the people who have huge connections with others, and they have the power to make trends rise and ideas really tip to the highest point. And they really are critical, and they basically like just what Gladwell says. They're basically social glues, which makes them very crucial when it comes to spreading information. Next is mavens. They share information, and they're basically the specialists about like informations on a certain product or idea. On page 60 it talks more about them. On page 60 it says, the word maven comes from the Yiddish. It means one who accumulates knowledge. And in recent years, economists have spent a great deal amount of time studying mavens for the obvious reason that if marketplaces depend on information, the people with the most information must be the most important. So what it really like means is how like mavens, they accumulate knowledge, and they have the power to like change, or like they have the power to also like change someone's mind. And they're basically like what Gladwell said, they're data banks, and they hold information and provide to customers whenever needed. So when a store or like a marketplace needs information about certain products, or like how to raise their currency, they're able to provide like discounts or like information that can really tip the store and gain popularity, even if it's a new store or not. And salesmen, lastly, I'm going to talk about salesmen. They're the persuasive communicators who influence others through their natural charm, and they have the ability to convince. So they, on page 70, it says, okay, salesmen with the skills to persuade us when we are unconvinced of what we are hearing, and they are as critical to the tipping of word of mouth epidemics as the other two groups. So basically, salesmen, they have clients that which clients reaches to them, and they have knowledge and financial plannings, and they really can persuade people by telling them information, and they can really like change people's mind who are unconvinced of what they're hearing, such as like marketing. And they're also they're just what it said, they're very critical when it comes to the word of epidemics, and they're just as important to the other two groups. So my two favorite passages of the book is how the author explains the stickiness factor about how information is retained in the mind, and how contagious yawning is, which connects to how if an idea is contagious, it can lead to significant changes. So on chapter 3, page 96, at first they talk about how experimenting on like college students, and how like on here it says, made the readers / viewers part of an attractive advertising system. And this is like the part where like they make an idea or product memorable and impactful through television ads, ensuring it sticks in the minds of an audience. And they also pay attention to details and presentations, such as TV shows and other kinds of content is crucial with retaining information. So for example, Sesame Street was designed with specific ideas to keep children engaged and learning, such as repeating episodes over and over throughout the day to keep children engaged and learning. So on page 96 it says, Consider, for example, the so-called fear experiments conducted by the social psychologist Howard Levantine in the 1960s. Levantine wanted to see if he could persuade a group of people, of college seniors at Yale University, to get a tetanus shot. He divided them into several groups and gave all of them a seven-page booklet explaining the dangers of tetanus, the importance of inoculation, the fact that the university was offering free tetanus shots at the campus health center to all interested students. The booklet came in several versions. Some of the students were given a high fear version, which described tetanus in dramatic terms and included photographs of a child having a tetanus seizure and other tetanus victims with urinary catheters, tracheotomy wounds, and nasal tubes. In the low fear version, the language describing the risk of tetanus was toned down and the photographs were omitted. Levantine wanted to see what types of different booklets had on the students' attitudes towards tetanus and their likelihood of getting a shot. So what I really like about that is how like they use booklets to really persuade college students and to getting a tetanus shots, and which is like, it's kind of like my favorite to me, because like I really like found that interesting, because really nobody really like experiments in like the way that they persuaded a group of college seniors at Yale University to take the tetanus shots was really like interesting, and like which makes it like my favorite. And yeah, the way that they use like the booklet to really like change those college students' mind. So the next passage is gonna be like the yawning one. So on page 9, it's the introduction page, so it's really just about how like introducing how contagiousness can really tip ideas or trends to the highest point. So on page 9 it says on here, have you ever thought about yawning? For instance, yawning is a surprisingly powerful act. Just because you read the word yawning in the previous two sentences and the two additional yawns in the sentence, a good number of people probably yawn within the next few minutes. Even as I'm writing this, I've yawned twice. If you're reading this in a public place and you just yawn, chances are that a good proportion of everyone who saw you yawn is now yawning too, and a good proportion of the other people watching the people who watched you yawn are now yawning as well, and on and on and on, in an ever-widening yawning circle. And yawning is incredibly contagious. Yawning is incredibly contagious. I made some of you reading this yawn simply by writing the word yawn. The people who yawned when they saw you yawn, meanwhile, were infected by the sight of you yawning, which is the second kind of contagion. They might even have a yawn. They might even have yawned if they only heard you yawn, because yawning is orally contagious. If you play an audio tape of a yawn to blind people, they'll yawn too. And finally, if you yawn as you read this, did the thought cross your mind, however unconsciously and fleetingly, that you might be tired? I suspect that for some of you it did, which means that yawns can also be emotionally contagious. Simply by writing the word yawn, I can plant a feeling in your mind. Can the flu virus do that? Contagiousness, in other words, is an expected property of all kinds of things, and we have to remember that if we are to recognize and diagnose epidemic change. So that is like really my favorite part as well. And like what I really like about that is like how it connects to like the whole book, and how contagious like a trend is, and like how people and connectors can really like spark that trend and really tip to the highest point. So what does this book teach you? This book really like taught me a lot, and how the importance of different kinds of individuals can truly have an impact in and how trends and ideas can really spread around just like a virus epidemic. And then it also talks about how like three key factors so the law of the few chapter that talks about the connectors, mavens, and salesmen, and then chapter 3, which is the sticky factor, which makes the message memorable and impactful. And lastly, chapter 7. So this chapter talks about suicide and smoking and the unsticky cigarette, but I'm going to talk about this one specifically passage that talks about how teen smoking started, or how people like start smoking. And on here it says on page 228, my mother smoked, and even though I hated the smell, she had these long tapered fingers and full of sort of crinkly lips, always with lipstick on, and when she smoked she was so elegant and devil-may-care that there was no question that I'd smoke someday. She taught people who didn't smoke were kind of gutless. Makes you think, she would say, revealing in how ugly that sounded. And then moving on, it says my best friend Susan was Irish English. Her parents were, in contrast to mine, youthful, indulgent, liberal. We had cocktails before dinner. Mr. O'Sullivan had a beard and wore turtlenecks. Mrs. O'Sullivan tottered around in mules, dressed slimly in black to match her jet black hair. She wore heavy eye makeup and was a little too tan and always, virtually always, had a dangerously long cigarette holder dangling from her manicured hands. So that really, like, that passage taught me so much, or like this book really just taught me a lot because of how, like, teen smoking started, and like I never really taught, or like I never really like knew how teen smoking really started, and this book really explained that so well, and I love that, and I value this book so much. And like ultimately the book like really provided so much details to me, and like how the influence of like social trends and marketing strategies, those details really like taught me a lot. And then I really recommend like this book to people who are probably going to major in business and marketing, and which really made me like have a profound realization to like towards like my surroundings, and like how there's different kinds of people, like connectors. Like for example, in school I could see someone like who's really popular being a connector because they have the power to really spread those news around because they have connections. And then mavens, I could see someone being really smart and have the knowledge to be able to spread those information. And then salesman, I could see someone being a teacher, like, which is really similar to what this book explained, how salesmen, they have the power to really teach clients and like financial planning, and like they have the information that nobody else really has. And then yeah, I think I can't really think a lot, or like I can't really think much anymore, but like this really like changed my point of view around the world, and which I value this book a lot because I think that this book will really like all this information will really like retain in my brain, or like in my my memory forever. So it's like really like a life-changing book. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening.